can tell you people they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, I have to apologise up front because today is not my best day because I am struggling with the most dreadful cold. And however, there is something I would like to announce before we plunge in with the matters at hand today, which is that on Friday the 8th of September, Craig David is going to be playing here at Castle Goring, and I understood from somebody at Dan Wooten's party who told me, oh, you know, we're coming and the tickets are sold out. Well, they're not sold out. There are tickets, I think. I'm almost sure there are tickets. Maybe what he meant was that a block of tickets was sold out, but they're not totally sold out. But I would imagine that the reason why the organizers have asked me to say something is, if you want to be sure of coming, book now, because down the line things might be sold out. So, okay, that's Craig David, Friday the 8th of September. I look forward to it. So, without further ado, I will plunge right in. Before even reading out any of the questions and comments, I want to say something. The tremendous display of rage and outrage, disappointment, disaffection that so many people have shown with regard to the fact that the king allowed the children to be listed as prince and princess on the list of succession has been quite astonishing and staggering. Now, I want to put things in context where I personally am concerned, because not only am I ill, but family friends of mine had one of the most dreadful tragedies happen to them a week and a half ago, which they have suffered the most dreadful loss that it is possible for a human being to suffer. It is a genuine tragedy, and that has, in a very slight way, because I'm only peripherally involved, but of course it has affected me as well, and my health, it has to be said, because my health is the first thing to break down. My character never seems to flinch, but my health does flinch. I want to put it in that context that, you know, and I want people to consider one question. I get why they are enraged and outraged and disappointed, and because they are not fully in the picture and they want what they want when they want it, and the king must give them what they want when they want it. Otherwise, they're off the king and they're off the concept of monarchy. I mean, 3 Americans told me that they even cancelled their trip here for the coronation. How much worse do you think the king feels about this? If you're so outraged, how much worse do you think the king feels about this? I mean, it's his son and daughter-in-law. It's his grandchildren. I've tried to explain all along that there are things going on behind the scenes and that things are working to a denouement. Yeah, there are snakes and ladders. And we've certainly seen Meghan pull one of her usual, I'm ballsy and I'm just going to mow them all down because I know the law. And she does know the law. That's her great virtue. That's her ace in the hole. She knows the law and she has no scruples about getting what she wants, irrespective of the justice of it all. I don't want to be too opaque, but I cannot be too clear. Believe me, Icarus flew too close to the sun and got his wings singed. Meghan, did you see the way she was exultant? But we'll come to that in a little while. Just exultant, making sure that she had her photo up, having created this scenario. Well, I'll get into all of it in a little while, but I just want you to try to have a sense of proportion and a bit of faith, and to understand that decent people cannot descend to the level of trash when dealing with people whom you regard as trash. Sorry. So, without further ado, the announcement regarding the christening from the Sussexes stated that Princess Lilibet Diana was christened by the Archbishop of Los Angeles. The spokesman for the couple said, I can confirm that Princess Lilibet Diana was christened on Friday, March 3rd by the Archbishop of Los Angeles, the Reverend John Taylor. The christening took place at the family's £11 million home in Montecito, California. The use of titles is being seen as an olive branch from Charles following the fallout from Harry's autobiography. Well, my understanding is, as I pointed out the last time, Meghan pulled a Diana. She made sure that she made the announcement so that the palace would have no choice but to make the announcement. Otherwise, it would create the possibility of a racial backlash in the United States and in the Commonwealth. Remember, Meghan has played that card, the race card, in the most ruthless and brazen manner. And have no fear. Had they not gone along with the upgrade, you can depend on it, there would have been accusations. Because also, let's not forget, the introduction to both this latest announcement and scenario was Ngozi Fulani, otherwise known as Marlene Headley, appearing on breakfast television in England. Of course, Caroline McCall, who is the head of ITV, is so pink she would make Jane Mansfield look as if she'd never seen the colour pink before. And she's the one who dismissed Piers Morgan at Meghan's behest, what was Ngozi Fulani doing on television, accusing the royal family of not having given her an apology. Then, right after this kicks off, you have Meghan making her announcement. Does this not ring bells? Do you remember what happened? How Ngozi Fulani took the opportunity of creating such a racial furore just before William and Catherine's Earthshot prize. Do you begin to see now that maybe there is synchronicity? I mean, you'd have to be awfully dumb to think that there are that these are not coincidences, or rather that these are coincidences. And of course, the king is the head of the Commonwealth. He doesn't want hundreds of millions of people boycotting it. Meghan has him over a barrel. But you know, be careful what you wish for in life. You might get it. Now, to those of you who've looked at this program over a period of time, you will know that I am the only person who linked a brevet dukedom to Prince Edward becoming the Duke of Edinburgh. And sure enough, it happened yesterday. He was given a brevet dukedom. I am pretty sure if you listen to what I said, you will see where the term brevet dukedom is explained in terms of the French monarchy and how it would most likely apply with Prince Edward. Now, I cannot go around, because my first duty, I have to tell you, is not to be a newsmonger. My first duty is, first of all, as a member of the world that I am a part of, to live up to the values, the sterling values of what being a lady is truly about. Very low down on the list comes the purveying of news. Yes, I'm a writer, and I write books, and now I do this show, and so to an extent I deal with news, but I don't breach confidences. But I assure you to the full extent I can of what I understand is going on behind the scenes without betraying anybody's trust. So I just say that for what it's worth. Now, to go back to the business of the Archbishop of Los Angeles being the Reverend John Taylor. He's not. The Archbishop of Los Angeles is Jose Gomez of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Los Angeles. He's also the president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Sorry. John H. Taylor is not an archbishop. He is a bishop of the Episcopal Church's Diocese of Los Angeles. Interestingly enough, rather like Justin Welby, prior to his ordination as an Episcopal priest, He served as Richard Nixon's chief of staff in retirement from 1984 to 1990. He was also the executive director of the Nixon Presidential Library. So you notice, when it suits Meghan and Harry, they go with the right. When it suits them, they go with the left. Their loyalty, it's so touching, is always self-directed. Well, Sunshine, who is somebody who closely follows this show, wants me to make the observation that a christening is a Christian ceremony. How Christian is it to exclude the grandfather? Good point, no? Also, Harry and Meghan's announcement was a score settler on many other points. Isn't it amazing? The tremendous resentment they have and the hostility that they have towards an institution that they can't wait to take its trappings and march. Well, they said that they had asked the King and the Queen and the Prince and Princess of Wales. They left out other members of the family. So presumably they didn't ask them, but they certainly asked who they knew would have to say no. And yes, baby, mummy loves you too. Who would have to say no, and they would be able to grouse gather, collecting yet more wounds. Can you imagine the King and the Queen, or the Prince and Princess of Wales, schlepping to Montecito to attend a christening that could easily have taken place here with Tyler Perry? Oh my gosh! Oh, we're so classy. Charles will be, no, it's Tyler Perry now. What do you do? And Camilla would be saying, oh, yes, Mr. Perry. Oh, I gather you can be quite interesting and entertaining and amusing. And Meghan would allow Catherine and William to be in awe of the fact that she's bringing classy friends into the royal circle. If the whole thing doesn't make you sick, I don't know what does. I'm already sick, but I can tell you something. Having to get out of my sickbed to deal with this is really a study in discipline and in the desire not to disappoint all of you, my viewers, who are depending on my performance at a regular time slot. And last but not least, normally christenings don't take place at private houses. I just make that point for what it's worth. So even in America, Harry and Meghan have found a way to not only monetize, but maximize their royal status, so that exceptions are made at every turn, which I suppose is why it will be perfectly safe for Harry to leave the United States of America and come back, notwithstanding the fact that he has made it absolutely clear that he breaks the law regularly and frequently where drugs are concerned. And therefore, if the American state were to actually implement its diktats and its interdicts, He wouldn't be allowed back into the United States. Shades of John Lennon, who was trapped in America for years. Maria C. says, Lady C, it is looking to me that most people are missing the main point. We all know that for most families, children's christening is a very important life event. Harry and Meghan's action of choosing the time of the coronation, plus unconventional location, strangers, guests, etc., was a stupid, heartless, inconsiderate, insulting move, etc. Action not just against the King, William and Kate, but also a slap in the face of half the royal family. That is the main point. After everyone in the royal family was so kind and loving to them at their royal wedding, very educational to see unconscious, vulgar, cruel nature. Much love. Thank you very much for that. Yes, I agree. You notice the timing of it all. Harry and Meghan are the ones who leaked that they were going to be evicted. This is setting themselves up to be victims yet again. They then counter the fallout from that by gathering other grouses and set up this situation. My understanding is that they were not supposed to be making that announcement, and they did. I will go into a little later the whole question of why at this point the royal family has no choice but to accept that the children have a legal entitlement to the titles of prince and princess. I will go into that in a little while because this is fundamental to the whole process. But to make sure that they grabbed the advantage, because look at what has happened. They make the announcement. The day later, the palace updates the line of succession, and the important issue, I will point out to everybody, isn't whether they are master and miss or prince and princess. Sorry, on the website. It is that they are in the line of succession at all. That's the real issue. So people are being diverted and sidetracked by extraneous trivia, really, and getting very upset about it. And I understand why people are so upset about it, because it looks as if Harry and Meghan are making, and really, let's say it's mostly Meghan, but they are making absolute fools of the royal family, the institution of the monarchy, and the British people who support them. Well, I can see why people are so upset and why they have a sense not only of rage but frustration. Frenchie says, they are right to think that they can break any rule and get away with it. Yes, they are right. So far. So far. May I remind you, Breve Dukedom? Breve Dukedom? Have a little faith. I don't think there's ever been a Breve Dukedom in the United Kingdom before the Duke of Edinburgh's, the present Duke of Edinburgh's brevet dukedom. Have a little faith. Patience is a virtue. And this country is a state that is governed by law. And the state cannot put itself above the law, otherwise it becomes an invalid state. And yes, did you see the way Megsy baby was crowing with delight with that rictus grin? And look at all these fabulous nashes that my father paid for. Slump of a man. I mean, you know, he used to be a great father until I didn't need him anymore, and now he's just a dismissible old creep that I don't want to have anything to do with, you know. It's not good enough for me. But I still have those gnashers that I can smell, and you see, I've got a barracuda mouth and a barracuda smile to go with my rictus grin. Well, there she was outside the Gracias Madre restaurant in West Hollywood with the back-grid paparazzi, whom she uses along with Jeff Rayner of Coleman Rayner, the other paparazzi who set up her father so that he'd have a heart attack and not go to the wedding. I tell you, Meghan either has the gift of prophecy or she knows how to press buttons. And she knows what reaction she's going to get from people. But that is, she achieves her objective. For instance, she has achieved her objective of Lilibet and Archie being Prince Archie. I mean, give me a break. Prince Archie of Sussex. Classy. Prince Archie Bunker was your grandfather. Yeah. And now we are Prince Archie of Sussex and Princess Lilibet of Sussex. Well, I have nothing against the poor children. In fact, I really pity them because I can tell you, I know from the experience of living with a mother like Meghan just what a nightmare it is. Let's wait and see what happens. But that rictus grin, exuberant, she set up the whole thing. Obviously, she set it up. And she made sure that it wasn't before lunch, it was after lunch, so that they had time to gather. Now, this is a sort of detail that the public might not be aware of as being relevant and important as to who did the setting up. Well, and she couldn't have been more charming to all of them. Look at what a success I am. I have a princess daughter. I do. I'm really classy. And you notice I wear my black coat and my black trousers and my black top. And I show my tummy just enough that if I decide I need to be pregnant, I'm going to be pregnant down the line. But I don't think she's going to have a pregnancy. I think we're going to have the pleasure, and I use the word reservedly, of seeing that frowsy bitch flaunt her rancid self with her Joan Collins. Oh, I've just had a man walk. I think we're going to have the displeasure of seeing her sailing up the aisle at Westminster Abbey in the robes of a princess of the United kingdom, unless Charles is going to get rid of robes. Because I understand that things are changing on a daily basis. And Harry and Meghan haven't yet said that they're going to come. But the palace is preparing for their arrival. And let them arrive. If they aren't here, all those gullible black people in the Commonwealth and in the United States of America who can't see through Meghan are going to be up in arms and say, racist. That's racist. Well, this way they can't say that's racist. When, as Chris Rock said, the woman who hit the light-skinned lottery flaunts the fact that she is a woman of colour by browning up her face. But have you noticed her arms, hands and legs and neck are never the same colour as her brown face? Everywhere else is white, but the face is brown. I thought blacking up was an offensive way of behaving. Surely browning up is as well. Although, of course, because she does it and she has sufficient followers, although on an ever-decreasing scale. I think you need to understand we are witnessing pride coming before a fall. I honestly don't see that this year, next time, or even much later this year, that people are going to be saying anything except, my goodness, how did that all happen? Sorry, and my goodness, what did the poor royal family have to endure? Bianca Peters says, Lady C, the royal line of succession page was updated this morning to have the Harkle children's titles added. Was the web page hacked? Is this a cruel joke? Is the royal family complicit with the titles? No birth certificates? No proof of birth? No proof of bone of the body? No DNA? No proof of baptism? Sorry, not all godparents named. I'm disgusted. Charles needs to clean and clear this up ASAP. Grow a pair, Charles, and step up. Enough is enough. And also, if the Harkle children get their titles, where is Prince Edward's promised title of Duke of Edinburgh? It's long overdue. Well, of course, as with many things with the Harkles, events have overtaken this comment, which was written yesterday, because yesterday they also made the announcement that Prince Edward was going to be made the Brevet Duke of Edinburgh. They just don't call it the Brevet Duke, but that's what it is. Well, may I pick you up on one or two points, because this is really important. First of all, James Viscount Severn and Lady Louise Windsor are in the line of succession as James Viscount Severn and Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor. Well, that right there is an error in terms of the rulings made by the Queen with regard to the surname of her descendants, because she is Lady Louise Windsor. Had she been one generation away from the throne, she would have been Lady Louise Mountbatten Windsor, in much the same way that Archie was Master Archie Mountbatten Windsor, because he was a great-grandson. James and Louise are grandchildren. They are entitled to call themselves Prince and Princess. They are not doing it at this point. You know, when you're playing poker and you're up against card sharks of the highest order, you don't position yourself in front of a mirror and hold your hand up for your opponent to see your every card. But I make the point that that is one situation that can stay or be altered depending on the necessity. I think we need go not much further than just mentioning Queen Margaretha II of Denmark and how she stripped her grandchildren of the rank of prince. The children of her second son, Harry's second son. That is an option. That's right, that's an option. But it can't be done as long as Meghan is able to use the race card against the royal family, which means the realities of what Meghan has accomplished need to be brought to light by independent third parties, because the Crown does not have the right to break the law. They have to respect the rights of all the citizens of this country, including members of the royal family. Now you're saying there's no birth certificate? There are birth certificates. And the birth certificates are on the face of it valid. Now I have been through this with you many times. And I have also been discussing this behind the scenes at, shall we say, levels I am not prepared to go into for pretty much the last 2 years. There is a way that the royal family, if there was anything untoward, they are not in a position to expose it, because that would be to break the law. You know, in America there are the HIPAA laws. Here there are the equivalent. Meghan is very clever, and she knows the law, and she uses it ruthlessly to her advantage, and doesn't care that people know what she's doing, as long as she gets away with it. How much longer is the question? No proof of birth? Well, there is furnished fact. How accurate it is would be open to question in terms of the information provided regarding the birth of the children. No proof of bone of the body. They didn't need to prove that. That was a lacuna, which she knew. They didn't need to prove that the children were born of her body. They only needed to assert that the children were born to her. That's the law. You can't argue with the king and demand that he break the law because you want to see Meghan Markle get her comeuppance, because you think she has done something that you suspect is not, strictly speaking, kosher. It's not enough to suspect. This is a very damaging, separating sore that stinks on a basis ever more highly. But let's wait and see what happens. Maria Rose Gonzalez says, Medusa and Dirty Harry announced those titles to entrap the king to publicly force him to give royal titles to their children. If he doesn't, the supporters' outrage will start again. I believe Charles should have abdicated in William's favour since day one, to not allow his son to manipulate and keep him hostage. Well, Maria Rose Gonzalez, you're not the only person who thinks like that, and let me tell you something. It has merit until you consider the fact that the Queen was too old to deal with any of these issues. I mean, she was battling death, and so was Prince Philip. They simply couldn't deal with these issues. The king can only deal with these issues in a timely manner for the matter to be cleared up one way or the other. And this is not a situation that you can force the issue. It needs to develop naturally. But yes, the big issue all along has been that if Meghan indeed did what some people suspect she did, when she was rumbled, you would hear it was because the children had a mother of colour. And therefore, she would have played the colour card. She's been very clever and strategic. She's been playing the colour card from the time she leaked the fact that she and Harry were a couple. She's been leaking like a sieve. She made one or two fundamental errors, however, and also she's so brazen that she actually thought she could be flagrant and get away with it. And nobody would notice anything or be able to call her to account. Well, people have noticed. They're calling her to account. It's just that the line for the cashiers is long. So it needs a while for the accounting to take place. But it will come. It will come. One way or the other, this matter is going to have to be cleared up, because it is a separating sore lying at the heart of the monarchy. And the people have a right to know. And I think Charles has to deal with the problem. I don't think William should be left to deal with the problem. Why should William be left to deal with the problem? Charles is young. He's only 74. He's a year older than I am. He can deal with it. Hannah Fian says she will forever be jealous of her daughter being an actual princess, and she's just a duchess. Hannah Fian, if she's anything like my mother, and I tell you, every time I look at that cow, the alarm bells ring. She will be jealous. My mother was insanely jealous of my sister Phoebe because she was very pretty from she was very young. And when my problems were solved and I developed a reputation for my looks. She used to do the most extraordinary things to sabotage me. If we were going out, she would wait until I was half dressed. She would ask me to help her to get dressed. Oh, I can't see. Can you help me with my makeup and my hair? Then, as soon as she was ready, let's go. We've got to go. We can't be late. So I would arrive half made up. When I quickly learned my way around that one, I simply got ready earlier. So she found her way around that one by trying to burn me on my face. Well, there would go my supposed looks. That's what she did to me. I won't tell you what she did to my other sister. But she was devastating. Women like that always are. And I don't think she's going to be pleased that her daughter is an actual princess and she's just a duchess. But let's see how long all of this pans out for. Let's exercise a bit of patience. Helena Hopkinson says, I will back King Charles all the way and believe in him. The Harkles will get what's coming. Helena Hopkinson, I agree. The king can't do anything to break the law. This is a dilemma that has to be emanating from an independent source, and the family cannot manipulate or orchestrate and create the situation. They have to be able to say with absolute honesty and certainty that this is none of their doing. And I'm telling you, there are plans afoot. Just be patient. Tonya Tolley says, I speak as an American here, but I can only imagine how insulted the British public must feel. That's right. Harry and Meghan have gotten away with 3 years of mudslinging and somehow always seem to escape any normal expected consequences for their actions. Good point. I, for one, won't hold my breath in anticipation of King Charles holding these two accountable in the foreseeable future. Well, I've explained why he needs to conduct himself the way he needs to. The majority of the British public and American public have sent these two a message, but King Charles can't. At this point, people shouldn't be surprised to see Harry and Meghan front and centre at the coronation with King Charles standing behind them. Well, in fact, I think that the really suitable role for King Charles and Queen Camilla to play is that they step aside and let Harry and Meghan be crowned king and queen. I think that's what they'd like, and I'm sure that's what their supporters would like. And that would be the end of the monarchy. Well, I will reiterate, you need to exercise patience. You need to see the whole picture. The king can't do certain things. The children have valid birth certificates. As long as those birth certificates remain in force as valid entities, there is nothing he can do. I've tried to explain this before. Now, if people don't want to take on board what I'm saying and still demand that Charles break the law, that's up to them. But Charles can't break the law. every citizen in this country has the right to certain rights being protected, especially with medical rights. And let's not forget about HIPAA in the United States of America and how that applies to Lilibet's birth. People would not only be fined vast amounts, they would go to prison. I just make that point for what it's worth. DFZ says, well, I didn't like what Jeremy Clarkson said about TW. I think that's short for the witch. You can see exactly why he expressed his intense dislike of the creature. I certainly can. You know, I started out being very pro-Meghan and rather liking what I saw. I find her, look, she is such a distasteful being to look at. You know, to know her measure, to have her measure, is to know what she's capable of. And to have seen this being played out on the glorious scale that it is being. Now, a Jamaican member of the political establishment said to me, if Meghan wasn't a brown-skinned gal, that's what they said, if Meghan wasn't a brown-skinned gal, none of this would be happening. Meghan has used her fair-skinned identity and the little bit of African heritage that she has to great advantage to acquire the things she wants: attention, money, titles for the children. I will have to come back to that observation at a later date because it is a very interesting and valid one. And it shows that Meghan, and of course, if you're Jamaican, you know exactly what they're speaking about. Because Meghan has used colour in the most destructive way possible to gain herself advantages that, ironically enough, she really didn't need to strive for. She'd have ultimately got them if she just exercised a little patience and not been quite so greedy. But then I suppose you can only live with a man whom you swear to adore so long before you want your liberty. Well, let's see how that all pans out as well. And yes, I don't think Jeremy Clarkson should have said what he said without alluding to the fact that it was from a scene in Game of Thrones. But the strength of feeling that that hustler has generated is entirely due to the degree of malice that she possesses. Hilaire Varte says, greetings from Los Angeles. More name dropping to get your attention. My sister dated one of the Annenberg grandsons, and she said that each grandparent had their own floor at the Pierre Hotel in New York. I went to school with Lee Strasberg's granddaughter, Leslie Ann Warren, and Chris Peters' son, and Nick Cassavetes' kids. My question is, do you think after the coronation, King Charles III might issue letters patent stating that if you use your titles for any commercial enterprise, you will lose them. Love to your fur babies. Is Mickey happy that her daughter is still at home? This is a brilliant question, and thank you very much. And I love the droll way you have made sure that I would see it, note it, and act upon it. Well, to just answer about Mickey first. The night that Mickey said goodbye to Babe, she had said goodbye to Diesel a few days before. Aurora ate a piece of cloth with pins and had to be taken into the surgery and operated on. And Mickey was so devastated. You could see her think, I can't lose all my babies. She didn't mind saying goodbye to the other two, but to lose Aurora, you could see was just going to devastate her. So I asked Babe's parents if we could have back Babe until Aurora came back, and they obliged. So is Mickey happy that her daughter is still at home? Yes. It's wonderful to see them together. Love is a marvellous thing to behold and be a part of, I think. Pure, unsullied, unadulterated, unmonetized love. Now, your point about King Charles III issuing letters patent, declaring that those who use their titles for monetary gain would lose them, is very much a possibility. Just as how Queen Margaret II was able to just deprincify her 4 grandchildren from the second son, Charles can do pretty much the same thing. And for what it's worth, the 2 elder sons of Prince Joachim and Alexandra Manley are mixed race. Their mother is half Chinese. So I think you might find that there would be precedents for the abuse and misuse to be dealt with. But let's not jump the gun, because certain tactics are best dealt with privately and quietly, then announced publicly. That's one of Meghan's, I have to tell you, one of Meghan's great gifts. She's an operator who moves behind the scenes and presents people with faits accompli. That's what they need to do. And that's what they have been trying to do. The problem is when you are up against a ruthless operator like Meghan Markle, it's very easy to lose control of the situation. Because if you do not follow correct procedure and inform your opponent, because let's be clear, that's what we're speaking about, the opponent can complain that you were presented with a fait accompli that deprived you of your rights of just being informed, plus any other rights they can come up with. Well, I actually, possibly because I am very under the weather, I'm so disgusted by Meghan Markle and Prince Harry that, quite frankly, I'm almost ready to puke just addressing any issue to do with them. That's really how I feel. However, I will womanfully rise to the challenge and meet my duty. And on that note, may I say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If you have enjoyed it, could you please keep on sending in questions and comments so that this can be done in cooperation with you, because it can't be done without your cooperation. So thank you so much. God bless. Goodbye. And if you have enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye.